Hello, I am HZ. The reason why I'm here today is because I'm here to expose my former best friend, the Super Smash Bros. Player and streamer, Caimn. I'm going to be exposing what he has done throughout the past couple of months and what has transpired between him and I for the past couple of days. As a note, I will not be revealing the names of him or his partners during this time, not until they are publicly known via him or the victims involved. I want to start off by saying I wanted to release this information sooner, but I was scared of what he would try to do, since I know he's physically stronger than I am. I know that he knows a lot of people that would probably be willing to quote unquote help him out if something were to transpire. And I know that he knows where I live. So, back in January, mind you, this story is coming from just from what he told me. I've tried to ask the victim about this, and they have since avoided the question and have blocked me entirely due to just being uncomfortable from the situation. So, back in January, he told me about how his former partner broke up with him, and from what he told me, which is also what will be shown in the message that I will show, is that he and them were cuddling, which he thought that they were going to do more. So he started basically groping them in their private area and on their behind, to where the victim kept telling him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. In the message, he states that that's it. However, in a later call that took place a couple days later, he admitted to me that the touching that was unconsensual led to unwanted sex for the victim, which then led them 3 days later to tell them that they could not trust them anymore because that had happened. I would have came out at this sooner. However, as I said earlier, I was scared too. And as for more recently, his current partner, of which I will not name, she invited me over to a surprise party on April the 10th, because his birthday's next month, everyone's going to be busy, and his birthday is the first week of summer break for Manchester University. The reason why I'm saying where he is because it's publicly known, and his girlfriend will be on internships. So she offered me the opportunity to come. I said I would if I had a ride. She said that she would find someone to get me a ride back, which I was stoked. She invited me about 3 weeks to a month before the party happened, and repeatedly she told me that she would have a ride for me to get me back home. My dad dropped me off over at the campus. He had to go see his dad in Manchester that day as well. The reason why he didn't come back is because he had to work night shift at Hollywood in Syracuse, which is about a half-hour drive from where I am. And he was not willing to come back down just to pick me up, and he wasn't willing to come back down because he didn't get great sleep during the day that day, So he just was gonna spend the rest of his day sleeping up until work. As for my mother, she was not able to drive me due to the fact that on April the 8th, she had surgery for a hernia that she's had for a while, and thus she wasn't able to drive me anywhere due to the pain it would cause her. Plus, I'd assume doctors would recommend them not driving. The day of the party, I did not get to see Caimn until the final half hour, and he was the only reason I was there. He acknowledged I was there, but he didn't say hi or anything. He just saw me, he nodded, that was it. By the time the party ended, around 5:15, because everyone had left at that point to go get dinner or whatever plans they had left for the night, I asked the girlfriend, hey, so who's going to be taking me home? Because, again, she was the one who offered me a ride home. She told me that her and Caimn had dinner plans that night, and how Caimn has a tournament that night, which the tournament's true. You can see it on his Twitch. And from then on, they didn't offer to let me stay in their dorm for however long. I don't know what the policy is on it. But essentially, I was stuck there without a ride. So I tried using stuff like Uber, Lyft, or a taxi service. Nothing worked. So from 5:30 to 7:30, nothing happened. I was just pacing around, worried in front of a building. Didn't know if I was going to get to go home tonight. And then campus security came at 7:30. And I won't lie to you, I started crying because I was so overwhelmed. And he asked me, hey, what am I doing here? Are you a student here? Whatever. I told him that I wasn't, and that I was just there for a birthday party. And due to unforeseen circumstances, I did not have a ride, and none of my apps were working to get me a ride. And he let me know, if I do end up needing a ride, I can just call their number. And at that point, I tried to see if I could confirm a ride through Uber, because they have a preserved whatever, and it said that I wouldn't have a ride until around 8 o'clock. And then around 8 o'clock, not only did it say they couldn't find me a driver, but the cops came. They asked me a couple questions. They just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to cause any trouble. They patted me down to make sure that I didn't have anything on me. And then they chose to drive me home because I did not have any other option. When I got home, I asked the girlfriend and told her about what had happened. All she had to say about it was damn. Caimn has told me after the fact that she is, and I quote, a dry person / dry personality. But even then, if they did have that, they should not be excused from just responding with damn instead of giving me a real excuse. Considering they had a whole month to get it ready. And then after she said that, a couple hours later, I told Caimn about the situation. And during that, I also complained to him about how he's been treating me since he's gone to college. Because, mind you, him and I were best friends for 6.5 years at that point. And just the past 3 months alone, since the other person, he has almost changed completely, to the point to where when I told other people about these situations, they couldn't even recognize him. There would even be times where, and I get that he's busy because it's college and he's trying to balance it, whatever, There would be times where he would go quite literally 20 days without responding to any of my texts. And at a point, I got worried to where I thought maybe, like, I doubted that he would. But at a point, I thought maybe, like, his girlfriend broke up with him and that he chose to take his own life. He didn't. But the fact I was, like, starting to think of that being a possible reason is just horrible. After I confronted him about it, I'll admit that if he is going to show the text between us, I will admit that I also started ranting on about how I'm jealous of him because I have tried just as hard as him to get where he is, but he is where he is instead of me, where I'm just stuck living the life I'm living, which I know I shouldn't compare myself to others. But at that point, I was so overwhelmed, and I just didn't know what to say, and it just led on to me unstably ranting to him because of it. So after that, he didn't respond to it until a couple hours later, where essentially he made a big-ass rant in how he says, and I quote, "Just like me and everyone else at that party, you were a grown-ass adult." And as he keeps going, he talks about how he basically puts it as, the situation's not as bad as it was, so suck it up. And originally, I apologized to him, and I thought it would just be that. And then, in classic Caimn fashion, because it would suck for him to respond, he just chose to not respond at all at the apology, which I had that message there for, I want to say, 18 hours. I can't remember how long exactly, but around 7 o'clock on April 11th, I started texting out a message, which is just a really long message of me just complaining about him and saying how he's been a horrible friend, and through all the stuff that I've been doing to him, or throughout all these years, the stuff I've done for him, because there's been situations throughout our friendship where obviously I try to comfort him, whether it be one of his girlfriends leaving him, or the fact that in the past his mom got into some legal trouble to where I offered to pay the bail in full. And anytime that I would try to vent to him, he would just ignore me completely, or he would acknowledge it, say a couple things that did not help in any way, and then just ignored it. And it was just me complaining to him about all that stuff that he would do. And then the next day, April 12th, which is my 19th birthday, he chose to message me, I want to say around 10 o'clock, like 10, 11 o'clock. I'm recording this without looking at the image, so I can't recall exactly. Around 11 o'clock or so, he messages me a big rant on how I'm a, and I quote, little pussy-ass bitch. And during that rant, he chose to call me the R-word, which I know with times like this, especially with gamers, people don't consider that as serious of a word as it is. However, I would like to note that me and my mother have high to mid functioning autism, with my sister having low functioning autism to the point where she can't even properly finish high school. she has to just go there for the 4 years instead of following one of the pathways that they have set for us, with the minimum being 40 credits, meaning 40 passes classed over the 4-year span, of which her first high school year she only got 3 out of the possible 14 she could have got. And the fact he's using that word, the fact I had to watch my best friend use that word against me when I've told him about why I left my former job, Kroger, was because I had a boss who was calling special needs coworkers the R word, and he didn't get punished for it. So he chose to respond like that, and basically told me to never contact him again. It was at this point where I tried to get back in contact with Taylor, and I realized that they weren't going to help. Taylor's not related to the two stories, so don't worry. It's just a code name I use for someone. But essentially, none of the people I knew because of him were really online at that point. They weren't going to do anything. So that's why I'm here now. As of this moment, I have revealed this information to 2 different people, those of which know Caimn personally. I have also started telling people who either own or moderate some Discord servers that he's in, including the Pokemon Unite Discord server, to try to get him banned from there, just so that he's not trying to do this to other people. I have also put out a post on Twitter calling out his actions, of which I hope is seen by all, or that I hope is seen by as many people who can help. I'm sorry for this being so long. It would take longer if I explained the entire thing through text. Thank you for listening, and please make sure that he does not benefit from this situation.